Alexander was born in 356 BCE in the ancient kingdom of Macedon, a land of mountains, warriors, and restless ambition. From the moment he entered the world, it seemed that greatness surrounded him. His father, King Philip II, was a brilliant military leader who transformed Macedon into the strongest power in Greece. His mother, Olympias, was mysterious and fierce, and she often told her son that he was destined for glory. She whispered legends into his ears, claiming that his blood carried the strength of heroes and even the favor of the gods. As a boy, Alexander showed signs of an unusual mind. He was curious, impatient, and deeply passionate. When other children played, he listened to stories of Achilles, Hercules, and ancient kings. He dreamed not of comfort, but of honor. One of the most famous moments of his childhood occurred when a wild horse named Bucephalus defeated every man who tried to ride him. While adults gave up, Alexander noticed that the horse was afraid of his own shadow. Calmly, the young boy turned Bucephalus toward the sun, mounted him, and rode away. King Philip, astonished, told his son, "Macedon is too small for you." To shape Alexander's mind, Philip hired the greatest teacher of the time, Aristotle. Under his guidance, Alexander studied philosophy, science, medicine, and literature. He learned to question the world, but also to admire beauty and reason. Yet above all, Alexander loved Homer's Iliad. He kept a copy with him for the rest of his life. Believing himself to be a new Achilles, destined for eternal fame, when Alexander was only 16. His father left him in charge of Macedon while leading a campaign. A rebellion broke out, and the young prince crushed it decisively. It was a warning to all. Alexander was not just a scholar, he was a commander. 2 years later, Philip was assassinated under mysterious circumstances. At just 20 years old, Alexander became king. Many believed the young ruler would be weak. They were wrong. Alexander moved quickly, crushing rebellions in Greece and destroying the city of Thebes as a warning. Then he turned his eyes eastward, toward the Persian Empire, the greatest power the world had ever known. In 334 BCE, Alexander crossed into Asia with an army of about 40,000 men. It was a daring gamble. Persia had more soldiers, more wealth, and centuries of dominance. But Alexander had something else: speed, strategy, and absolute confidence. At the Battle of the Granicus River, he led the charge himself, risking his life and inspiring his men. Victory followed victory. The greatest test came against King Darius III of Persia. Their first major clash was at Issus. Despite being outnumbered, Alexander used clever tactics and struck directly at Darius. When the Persian king fled the battlefield, his army collapsed. Alexander did not celebrate cruelty. Instead, he treated Darius's captured family with respect, earning admiration even from his enemies. As he marched south, Alexander conquered cities along the Mediterranean coast. Some resisted and paid a heavy price. Others opened their gates. In Egypt, Alexander was welcomed as a liberator. The people crowned him pharaoh, and priests declared him the son of a god. There, in the desert, he founded a city that would bear his name, Alexandria, destined to become one of the greatest centers of learning in history. But Alexander was not satisfied. His true goal was the heart of Persia. In 331 BCE, the two kings met again at the Battle of Gaugamela. It was one of the most important battles of ancient history. Once more, Alexander led from the front, breaking through Persian lines and forcing Darius to flee for the final time. Babylon, Susa, and Persepolis fell into Alexander's hands. He was now ruler of the largest empire the world had ever seen. Yet conquest changed Alexander. He began to adopt Persian customs, wearing their clothes and expecting his officers to bow before him. Some followed willingly. Others resisted, believing he was betraying Macedonian traditions. Tension grew between Alexander and his closest friends. In a tragic moment during a drunken argument, Alexander killed his loyal companion Cletus. When the anger faded, grief consumed him. It was a moment that revealed the cost of power and ambition. Still, Alexander pushed onward, deeper into Asia, through harsh deserts and towering mountains. He reached lands no Greek had ever seen before. His army grew tired, but Alexander refused to slow down. In India, he faced King Paris, whose war elephants terrified the Macedonians. The battle was brutal, but Alexander won, and impressed by Porus's bravery, he allowed him to rule his land. At last, at the banks of the Hyphasis River, Alexander's soldiers refused to go further. They were exhausted, far from home, and overwhelmed by endless war. For the first time in his life, Alexander listened. He turned back, though his heart burned with unfinished dreams. The journey home was cruel. Many died from hunger, heat, and disease. Alexander himself was no longer the invincible hero of his youth. When he returned to Babylon, he began planning new campaigns toward Arabia and beyond. But fate had other plans. In 323 BCE, at just 32 years old, Alexander fell ill and died. The cause remains a mystery. As he lay dying, his generals asked who would inherit his empire. He reportedly whispered, "To the strongest." His death marked the beginning of chaos. Without him, the empire fractured, divided among his generals. Though his empire did not last, Alexander's legacy did. He spread Greek language, culture, and ideas across 3 continents. Cities he founded became centers of trade, science, and learning. Through him, East and West were forever connected. Alexander the Great was not just a conqueror. He was a dreamer, a strategist, and a symbol of human ambition. His life reminds us that greatness can inspire the world, but it also comes at a cost. More than 2,000 years later, his name still echoes through history, a reminder of how far one person's vision can reach.